quizzes, then swift.
Hello and welcome to Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Crick Info Match Day. It's match number 13 here at the Men's World Cup. I'm joined by Wasim, Jaffer and Urooj, Mumtaz. Wasim, are we going to get a little lucky number 13 here and finally a competitive game at this tournament?
Unfortunately not today. I'm expecting England to obviously run away with this game because the way Afghanistan's playing, they are too far behind, and the pitch that Delhi has, if England bats first, I don't know what's happened in the toss, but if they bat first, I won't be surprised if they notch up 400 or 450. So I feel Afghanistan the top players need to come to the party, which hasn't happened so far in the tournament, but Rashid Khan, Rahmanullah Gurbaz, Ibrahim Zadran, Mohammad Nabi, those guys need to come to the party to be even a little bit more competitive. I thought against India they were 100 runs short, if not, but against England it's going to be a tough ask.
Yeah, so we're going to look at the Afghanistan team and composition and tactics in a bit, but Urooj, to you, we've had 12 matches and I would say slightly disappointing to have seen so many one-sided games. Could you put your finger on why we're seeing that?
I'm not quite sure why, because you've had some very evenly balanced teams. For example, England v New Zealand upstart, Pakistan versus Australia, Pakistan versus Sri Lanka the other day, South Africa, Australia. I mean, fairly well balanced side that took on each other. I just think adapting to situations, getting a measure of what the pitch entails and how the teams have played out. And in all honesty, the losing sides have just been taken out by exceptional displays by the opposite side in all three facets of the game. And clearly, like you're saying, up till match 12 in a World Cup, we're yet to see a close finish or something that might be deemed a thriller.
Yeah, not seeing that quite yet, and the match between England and Afghanistan may not give us that either. They've met twice before in ODI cricket and England have beaten Afghanistan soundly each time. We'll go back now to look at the game from the 2019 World Cup where England scored 397. So Wasim, what you're touching on, scores of 400, 450, they'll be looking to breach that mark. And that match was headlined by a great century from Eoin Morgan. But then on the other side of that, Rashid Khan did really, really poorly in the game, conceding over 100 runs. We've spoken about him. We've spoken about pressure on him. He's obviously feeling it. Can he do anything different?
I think you just need to be patient. The moment he goes after the wickets, I feel, he bowls those, he tries to bowl those magic deliveries, which happens in T20 cricket. But in 50-over cricket, it's hard. The batsmen have more time to play him out and they can afford to play him out. But in shorter format, all these players, all these Afghanistan players are a lot more competitive in T20 cricket. But in 50-over cricket, the margin becomes a lot longer. That game I remember, 9 overs for 110 runs. I think Eoin Morgan got dropped when Rashid was bowling.
Yeah.
And then after that, Eoin Morgan just took off. So, that was something Rashid would like to forget. But I just feel he just need to be a little bit more patient and just keep on bowling those dot deliveries, keep hitting the stump. The deliveries that he keeps on bowling in T20 format, he just sticks to those 6 meter length, around that middle stump or around off stump line, and just keep bowling that rather than looking for those magic deliveries. And the other guys, bowlers like Mohammad Nabi and Mujib, they also need to support him. The pressure need to build from the both ends. I just heard that England have won the toss and they've decided to bowl first, I think, which is a good thing for Afghanistan. So I just feel he needs to stay in the game with bowling dot deliveries and just not try and force to take wickets.
Yeah, so patience is definitely something. Urooj, talking about Afghanistan's best chance of beating and or challenging England, they're now being asked to bat first, and I think the sentiment is that might just give them an opportunity to put runs on the board. For you, is that the best way for them to go about trying to topple a big team?
Yeah, see, Afghanistan's strong suit, we've spoken about this, is their bowling, which hasn't come together as an ODI unit, but it gives them the best chance. If they're looking down the barrel of chasing anything past 280, 290, their batting probably isn't quite cut out just yet. in terms of experience, in terms of temperament, and even technique to maybe chase that down and against quality opposition. So this way, it gives themselves a best chance. I think all three matches now that they've batted first, they didn't come up with runs against Bangladesh because again very heavily reliant on that top order, which was a good sign against India, where they looked in a spot of bother and then Omar Zai and Shahidi came to the party, stitched up a partnership and got them to 272. And they should probably look to go one step further with that. If Ibrahim Zadran up top and Rahman Al Gurbaz also can score runs, which is so often and not been a recipe for success when they get off to big starts and get big scores, and the middle order can obviously chip in. I think it's Afghanistan's best chance with runs on the board, but they will have to get those runs.
Yeah, not just their best chance because they're batting first and runs on the board, but Delhi, we know, has been very friendly to batters. We're seeing that runs are coming pretty easily there. On the flip side of that, maybe Afghanistan slightly disappointed because they would have wanted to bring their spinners into play at that venue, but now the venue's kind of conspiring against them. Just how have you summed up Delhi so far, Urooj?
I mean, 428 it rocked up in their first game, right? So that sends it. I mean, Wasim just said that if England bat first, they look to score more than 400. 400 in a game is a big number against any opposition, and then against Afghanistan. So I think Afghanistan will have to look at, and in fact, Afghanistan can play this to their advantage. They batted first at the same venue against India. 272 is what they got. So they might be a little bit familiar. They know how the wicket plays. And again, what we're talking about is the Afghanistan bowling unit hasn't clicked together in terms of consistent lines and lengths to mount that much pressure on the opposition. Rashid's again gone too hard searching for those wickets. T20 is a completely different ball game to ODI cricket. So I really think this is a blessing in disguise for Afghanistan that they've lost the toss and runs on the board. I mean, they'll have to get the runs, but I think it's Delhi. You want to bat, right?
Yeah, you definitely do want to bet there. Wasim, we're going to go back to that in a moment, but we've got news on the England team now. So Afghanistan will have to get those runs against an unchanged England side, and that means no Ben Stokes. That's the big news from the team. Probably resting him up for South Africa later on as he recovers from the hip injury. What do you make of their bowling attack?
Well, I thought it's a very good bowling attack with Reece Topley coming in. I think he made a proper impact in the last game. They needed that win. And Mark Wood again on this pitch, he'll be handy with that pace. Chris Wokes, Sam Curran. I think that's a pretty solid bowling attack with Adil Rashid there as well. Moin misses out again. Liam Livingston might chip in. So it's a very solid bowling attack, as well as the batting up until number 8, number 9. Adil Rashid can bat as well. So it looks a very solid team.
Yeah, certainly a long batting lineup there. Urooj, I guess one more talking point from the England 11 is that they've opted to stick with Sam Curran, even though there's some talk that maybe they change that up. And I guess a bit of discussion of, are they keeping Curran in the team just for that extra batting cover, which would seem unnecessary against Afghanistan? What do you think of that selection? Should they change it up a little bit?
I don't think so just yet. Again, they probably, and again, no disrespect to Afghanistan, they probably have the liberty or the cushion to play the same side and maybe give Curran another go against Afghanistan as opposed to their big game coming up next. There was also talk about Dharamshala being a slightly heavy outfield. They might rotate their players. Let's not forget Ben Stokes probably won't be bowling. I think Sam Curran has a lot of potential. We saw that in the T20 World Cup. He is one of those who can be labelled a complete all-rounder as well. So I think it's more about just giving him another outing. His numbers, again, since 2021, with the new ball, very effective. It's towards the back end. So maybe that Reece Topley will provide that. Mark Wood, we know, is exceptional with pace. But again, he's also, Sam Curran is still relatively new to the international circuit. He might have played a couple of T20 World Cups. But this is a different ball game. So I think another outing for him with the ball up front. Now that they're bowling first against Afghanistan, just to see what he's made of even further.
I think probably, coming to that point, probably the ground, the dimension of this ground, playing a medium pacer actually suits them. You've got Joe Root who can bowl, you've got Livingston who can turn his arm over. So having a medium pacer, I think, suits on this ground. Bowling an off spinner to a subcontinent team probably can, leak a lot more runs.
Yeah, let's take a look now at Afghanistan's 11. We've got some news coming in from the ground there. Just one change to their side. They've opted for an extra batter in Ikram Alimkil. And we've got some good news for them in that Mohammad Nabi playing his 150th, Rahmat Shah playing his 100th ODI. So some nice milestones there. They're not including the extra left arm wrist spinner, Wasim. Is that the right kind of makeup? I mean, I guess it is Delhi, so.
Yeah, I mean, just because Delhi, I think, that is okay. But other than that, I mean, Najibullah Zadran hasn't been among the runs for a while now, so that's understandable. Hashmatullah Shahidi got runs, and then Umar Zai also looked pretty decent in the last game. All I can feel is the approach-wise. I feel the Afghanistan need to be very positive and not go with a very defensive approach, thinking that probably 270, 280, or maybe even 300 is going to be okay, which is not going to be okay on this ground. So even if you have lost 2 games, their approach needs to be very positive. You've got to think about winning and think about scoring 350 or beyond. It might not be enough, but at least play with that approach. If you do that, you'll put team under pressure. So, even if you lose, it doesn't matter. You're at least thinking about winning the game.
So Afghanistan are going to have to put lots of runs on the board, and we're going to come back to talk about the matchups between these 2 teams. But for now, we've got a special insert with some big news coming through this week about cricket being given the green light for the LA 2028 Olympic Games. We chatted to the US ambassador about what that means, about the future of the sport and the growth of the sport in the US. Let's have a watch and see what he had to say.
It is a monumental day and a pivotal time for our sport, because now, for the first time in at least our lifetimes, we can call cricket an Olympic sport. That will become a reality in 2028 when the Olympics go to Los Angeles. So, to just look at what impact this could have, how did this happen? 3 very fine gentlemen to my left, former Australia captain Aaron Finch and former India captain Anil Kumble will weigh in. But the man that has played a big part in making that happen, the United States ambassador to India, Eric Garcetti, former mayor to LA. So welcome, ambassador. Let me start with you. Take us through how this has become a reality.
Well, this is really a dream come true. 5 years ago, the chairman of our Olympics in Los Angeles, a dear friend, Casey Wasserman, and I sat down and said, this is probably the biggest sport in the world that doesn't have Olympic recognition. In 1900, there was 1 game played between Britain and France. They didn't even know it was an Olympic match, by the way. And afterwards, they got the medals. But since then, we haven't seen cricket in the Olympics. And when I came here, saw T20 format, saw the excitement, realized we could do this in a 2.5-week Olympic span. We've been talking every month since then. And now here, for the first time in 44 years, the International Olympic Committee is meeting in India. So it's kind of like the universe has delivered cricket in this cricket crazy country at a moment of the World Cup and the LA Olympics. Who would have thought the Americans would bring cricket home? But since we played the first international match ever in cricket history against Canada in 1844, we're going to bring it back in Los Angeles and the world can celebrate.
Yeah, there is history in that part of the world. It's documented that George Washington might have featured in the game of cricket.
Absolutely, that's probably why I had wooden teeth.
what they called wicket, I believe, at the time.
Exactly. Wicket.
But now in this day, this predates your ambassadorship to India. So for an American who would have obviously followed more of baseball and NBA and NFL growing up, what was your first taste of cricket? Because you've played a role in wanting this even before your time in India.
Absolutely. I grew up as a baseball nut. I played baseball as a kid. I loved it. It was when I lived in England. I went there for graduate school at Oxford University. And so I played with friends there and realized, hey, this prejudice we have against cricket is maybe a little unfounded. It's a great game. The pace is awesome. You get to eat lunch in the middle of it. I mean, what's bad about this? So I learned a little bit then. And when I came back to LA, and we won the Olympics after a multi-year campaign, we have 5 sports that we can put in. And we looked at a couple things like American football, with flag football. We looked at lacrosse, bringing baseball back. Yeah. We said, why not? This is played in 105 countries, and it's time to bring it. So we have been campaigning, lining this up, and just came to agreement with the International Olympic Committee this past week.
Yeah, this is significant. And let's start with the significance for the modern day player, Finchy. Retired perhaps a year or two too late. Because now there is the chance for many of your teammates to, in addition to being World Cup winners like you are, to also be Olympic medalists. That means something for the sport?
Oh, it means a huge amount to the sport. I think having that world stage to showcase how good the game is and how much it's grown, particularly through the T20 format over the last sort of 15 to 18 years throughout, it's just extraordinary. And I certainly wouldn't have got to 2028, so I'm still comfortable with when I retired.
This is very significant from an Indian point of view too. You understand the sporting landscape so well, Anil, one of India's greatest ever players. But the reverence that Olympians enjoy your Abhinav Bindras, Neeraj Chopra recently, even our silver and bronze medalists, something that we always hoped and wished. Could the Indian cricket team also be Olympic winners?
Oh, it's a great thing for cricket and the sport. To be an Olympian is a massive feeling. And my 9 years, the ICC in the cricket committee, every meeting had a discussion about the Olympics, cricket in the Olympics. And I'm really happy that 2028 in LA, cricket will be featured. And I was a part of the Commonwealth in 1998 when cricket was played in the Commonwealth. And it was fantastic as an experience for an athlete to be in the athletic village, to mingle amongst other athletes, to watch other sport. I mean, I went and watched India play hockey. I went and watched Gopi Chand play badminton. And it was fantastic to be a part of that village and to have that experience. And now recently in the Asian Games, both the Indian men's and the women's team won gold. So it's a fantastic feeling to hold that medal and be a part of the experience of being in the Olympics. And it's great that it's finally a part of the Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, the needle was shifting for the last few years. You mentioned the Asian Games. We saw cricket participate in the Commonwealth Games more recently. But I guess it would be universally accepted this is big for the sport, being part of the Olympics. What about the coincidence of the venue, the United States, where we're now seeing Major League Cricket, we're seeing Masters Cricket that Finchy, you were a part of. India recently played there. I mean, I've seen the support that they got in Florida. What could cricket at the LA 28 Games, Mr. Ambassador, do for the popularity of the sport in your part of the world?
Well, a lot of people in America don't realize that we are up to the second biggest streamer of cricket, not only because of the number of Indians and other South Asians that are there, but we have folks from the Caribbean, we have folks that are from Australia, from Britain. We already have a population that loves cricket. Now it's time to pass that on to our fellow Americans. And I know LA 28 will do this. Major League Cricket this past year started something, but now we got to build the venues, build the fans, build the base. And I love, that this Hollywood versus Bollywood kind of mix of the LA Olympics. I mean, Shah Rukh Khan co-owns the team in Los Angeles, the Knight Riders. So being able to put that together in Los Angeles, bring some of the star power, I think it's only a matter of time before we'll never abandon baseball, but we can also love cricket too.
Yeah, I'm sure the American, let's say, the ones that are conservative about the popularity of cricket would think, but it's too boring, it's not going to work. There is a history of a world event, if we talk about football, or as you call it, soccer in your part of the world, changing once an event of such a magnitude brought it to American shores?
Yeah, no question. I think when we see it on our own territory, in our own cities, we'll understand how big it is. And I think also, we don't know how many of our neighbors are spending their Saturdays or Sundays, actually in the United States because of the time. We've got people who are up right now, 2, 3 a.m. in the morning watching the World Cup. So I think it'll be seen as an American sport. And for every American who thinks it's boring, I mean, I'll always love baseball, but it sometimes is faster. The T20 format, somebody's always hitting, somebody's always running, somebody's always throwing, somebody's always catching, so you're not going to get bored.
Yeah, I mean, I got bored at a baseball game, so perhaps I'll do the other thing when I'm there.
I'll explain it to you, don't worry.
Sure. You spend some time in that part of the world, and this comes at the back of the All-Stars that happened a few years ago. West Indies tend to have some part of their series there. Finchy, you played, I think it was very close to Los Angeles, wasn't it, that you played T10 Masters cricket for? You see potential that the game could grow there.
Absolutely. I think what was so impressive was to see the amount of local Americans come through the gates as first-time viewers of the game, and just the ability to attract them in. We know that Americans love sport in general, so to just attract that new, I suppose, a new band of fans that just went to the game just to see it live and see what cricket was all about. They would have heard about it, so they went. So imagine you put that on the global scale, and then all of a sudden the game starts up in the park, and then neighbours get involved, like you said. It's contagious. And I think for somebody from Australia who grew up in a cricket-loving country town, where community sport is the heart and soul of country towns, it can be the same on a global scale.
We're speaking at a time of the most celebrated game in cricket, an India-Pakistan World Cup fixture. How does the India-Pakistan Olympic gold medalist fixture sound? Do you sense it'll be almost bigger than that? Then I tend to worry, is cricket going to think the Olympics has gotten bigger than the World Cup?
No, I think it'll attract the same kind of attention, even in the Olympics. I mean, we saw Neeraj Chopra winning the javelin gold, and the Pakistan
Arshad Nadeem, yes.
Yeah, he won silver. So I guess that's the kind of rivalry will certainly go there. The other advantage of cricket being in the Olympics is also other countries getting the funding from the government because it's an Olympic sport.
Yes.
European countries, you have other Asian countries who are keen and who participate in cricket but not necessarily get the funding. So this perhaps will only augment all of that.
I mean, I've no doubt that China is going to put in a pretty strong Olympic team now for cricket. Once it gets into the Olympics, they prepare hard for it. But before we wrap this up, I must once again come to you, Mr. Ambassador, to just remind our viewers on how this was actually made possible now and not in previous editions, and the autonomy, the role that you enjoyed to ensure that as a host nation, you were able to include cricket, which doesn't get a lot of love previously.
Yeah, I don't know why it wasn't there before. I mean, it's been in countries like the UK and they've had the Olympics and it just never happened. I think the momentum and the talk that you mentioned for years and years built up, but it was also, that's what America's about, is that we take things from all around the world and we say, look, everybody's welcome here. We want to reflect the world. We come from around the world. And I think this will solidify it. And my dream is that maybe 2028 will plant the seed for a young woman or a young man who will become a world-class cricketer who's from America. And of course, I did this now as ambassador to India because I want to see your gold medal count go up.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we bring that point to the women's game, strong as it is. We saw the Indian women's team at the Commonwealth, so we must remember Olympic sport. So there's a chance for success across both the men's and the women's cricket format.
Yeah, that's the beauty about Olympics. It brings all generations and everyone together, and it's great for Indian women cricket team as well. I mean, recently the Asian Games, gold medal, it's fantastic, and to be a part of the Olympics, just the celebrations, walking in that inaugural march past with the flag. I mean, that itself is a great feeling. Like I said, one opportunity I got in the Commonwealth, and I'm sure athletes and cricketers will cherish this moment.
Yeah, T20 is the format, though, isn't it? And this was always the hope, that this format is something that will appeal to people who have never seen or experienced cricket before, because you're going to get a lot of that at the Olympic Games. Yeah,
a lot of action. Like the ambassador said, it happens so quick. There's always something happening, regardless of how the two teams match up against each other. The contest is always reasonably even. And I think that it just goes to show how far the game has come as well, that people from all around the world are now playing in all parts of the world as well. So, I mean, there won't be any dull contests. I was lucky enough to play there, like you said, and to see the facilities that have been put in place in America already is fantastic. So I can only imagine what they can do in LA in a couple of years' time. All
right, I think I'm going to finish with the ambassador. Any final thoughts, Ambassador, on how this makes you feel that it's come full circle, what you wanted has been achieved, the games at Los Angeles, cricket included, and you in India? That emotion must be something personally fulfilling.
When I got here, folks said the three top sports in India, of course, are cricket, cricket, and cricket. So I had a friend who suggested, after this vote is official, you should just go home because you've achieved everything you needed to do here in India. But all joking aside, I hope to see you all in Los Angeles, and all the folks that are watching this, come to LA. It is an Indian city, it's an international city, and it'll be the best Olympics you've ever seen, a games changer.
Well, you've put it so well. You've played such a big role, Mr. Garcetti, and we can't let you go without a little bit of love. You are the ambassador to India. So if I could use all my powers and procure a little gift. Yes. Thank you very much. Sorry about that, Finchy. We didn't have an Aussie jersey in stock.
That's okay.
But this isn't just an India jersey. Anil, you could turn that around and present it to Ambassador Garcetti. It's got his name on it.
This is perfect.
I think it's a size too big.
It's a dream come true. It's all right, I'll keep working out. There it is. Go India. Let's go.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Great to be with you.
Well, Ambassador Eric Garcetti there telling us about Olympics and cricket and wearing a Team India jersey. Wasim, Urooj, it's great news. We're going to see T20 cricket, so not quite the format we're talking about here at the Olympics. What's your reaction to that?
I think it's a very good move. T20 obviously can be squeezed in. It's a lot shorter game. I can understand 50 overs is such a long game. Even we feel it when we're broadcasting it.
Can't tell people that.
But T20, 3-hour game. A lot of Americans obviously like shorter sports, so I think it's going to excite them. Nowadays, you get T10 also in the franchise cricket, but T20 cricket brings a lot of excitement. You don't generally get too many dull games in T20. So the gap is a lot shorter. even if you don't have a very competitive team, but the gap is a lot shorter. So it's a very good move, I feel.
Yeah, and Urooj, you similarly excited to see the athletes going out in the Olympic march? It's always a wonderful thing to look at.
Yeah, it's one thing to be a World Cup winner, and it's another thing to be an Olympic winner or just an Olympic medalist. I think it now becomes a global sport. The kind of footfall it will now attract from players or people who might have never even picked up a bat or ball, and it just puts it up on that elite pedestal, unmatched to any other in terms of bilateral cricket or World Cups or T20 World Cups or the World Test Championship. I think it sort of now is complete sport in the true sense of the word, because it is now going to be represented at the Olympic Games. And you could see the emotion when Anil was talking as well, just when he was at the Commonwealth. We talk about the Asian Games, but I think this is quite now going to be the pinnacle of the sport. So fantastic for all countries that will be part, both men and women. And I think it'll be a completely different ball game to fight out for the Olympic gold.
So that's something we're going to look forward to in 5 years' time, cricket at the Olympics. But for now, we've got to head back to Delhi, where England are playing Afghanistan. So, Wasim, we've spoken quite a bit about the challenges Afghanistan have faced. And the one I want to talk about now is strike rates. Because the middle order, we've got Shahidi striking at 67, Rahmat Shah, who's playing in his 100th game, at 70, and Ikram Ali Kil, who they've brought in, striking at 60. So how does that improve, and must that improve?
It must improve, especially on this ground. You know, even run a ball is not good enough. So once you have spent a little bit of time on that pitch, once you have faced 15-20 deliveries, you need to put on that accelerator, and you got to go hard. That's the only way, and you can trust the pitch. It's a small boundary. You can trust the pitch, and that's why I feel Rahmanullah Gurbaz and Ibrahim Zadran, those players are very, very crucial. It's a good pitch. If they take time early on at the start, that's understandable, but it's very imperative that those two players, you know, come into form. Especially the star players need to come into form, and once you get settled, you need to go hard and aim to get those 350 or, you know, around that mark.
So Wasim, talking about strike rates of 100 at a minimum, and Urooj, just to come to you, Afghanistan will have to strike at that against a player like Mark Wood, who we saw get 1 for 29 in his 10 overs against Bangladesh, so it's half the runs than a run a ball that he's conceded. What have you made of him, and how can Afghanistan succeed against raw pace like what he offers?
Well, I mean, it's not easy. It's easier said than done when the rocket's been thrown at you plus 90 miles per hour repeatedly, right? And he's brutal in the sense that he's relentless. He's a match winner for the side. So going at him is firstly requires some guts, because there's a lot of times where you can get intimidated by the pace. And on a flat surface, when he's going to be either aiming for nose or toes, what Afghanistan can do, however, is use that pace to their advantage given the square boundaries. Either if he's bowling short, you either get inside the line or stay outside and aim for those square boundaries. And like Wasim said, trust the pitch. So try and hit through the line as well. Sometimes maybe give yourself some room, and then again use the square boundaries. It's easier said than done, but they will have to back their skills, trust the surface. But Mark Wood is exceptional. I mean, we saw him when he was playing, different format, of course, when he was down in Pakistan, bowling on absolute placid tracks. But still managing to get somebody like a Babar Azam out repeatedly was quite a spectacle. So he's up against Afghanistan. So I think Ibrahim Zadran and Najibullah Gurbaz, keep forgetting his name, Rahmatullah Gurbaz. Yeah, I think they will have to sort of just up their game, back their skill, and try.
Yeah, looks like we've lost Urooj for a moment. But Wasim, I'm not going to ask you for a score prediction, because we were saying 450, I think Anil said. I even tried to push him towards 500 if England bat first. He wasn't going there. So Afghanistan, we know, will be looking for at least 300, 350. Yeah. If you had to pick a top performer from their innings, who do you think is the one who can bat through?
Well, Gurbaz comes to the mind straight away, because he plays with that intent. Even if he gets out, you can see with his body language that, you know, he means business. He wants to attack. That's in his DNA. So he holds a lot of importance, and he hasn't performed as much, you know, we expected him so far in this tournament, couple of games. So this is you know, he's due for some runs, and it's a good pitch, like we've talked. You know, and the faster it comes, the faster it goes. So on this pitch, especially, you know, short boundary, you can trust the pitch. They're batting at a good time, afternoon. So Gurbaz holds the key, and all the other guys need to step up as well. 350 is something which will be competitive considering they've got a decent bowling attack. Even though it might not be enough, but still 350 they need to aim that.
Okay, so Afghanistan are looking for big runs. Rahmanullah Gurbaz, just 21 years old. He is getting ready to face the English attack. We were joined here by Urooj, Mumtaz and Wasim Jaffer, and I'm sure the three of us also acknowledge that the Afghanistan team, they're out there, they're going through challenges. Their country's been hit by a terrible earthquake and a massive loss of life. So our thoughts are obviously with them as they try to put some smiles on the faces of people who've had a really tough time. Remember, if you want to catch up on everything going on in this match, it's the ESPN Cricinfo app that you can download for all the news, views, analysis and scores. And to see if Afghanistan can get to that minimum 350 according to Wasim Jaffer, you can join us at the innings break where we'll be dissecting everything that takes place in Delhi.
Stunning looks, then swift,